Hey everybody, how's it going this fine Wednesday evening? Me, myself, Super TF here, joined today by Dexatron for a lovely couple of games here for Faceit League. And Mr. Dexatron, it's certainly been a minute over here. Listen, I'm having trouble polishing my two Overwatch League Championship trophies right now, so why don't you bring this into this match between Factor X and Agave Garfo?
Yeah, sure thing. Absolutely. Yeah, Factor X takes on Agave Garfo here tonight. Factor X coming off a win in their last game over Fallen Eclipse. Agave Garfo, on the other hand, coming in off a loss, however, it was against one of the undefeated teams left here in the South American region of Piso Sour. So not necessarily a big surprise there, but this becomes a very important game for both these two teams when we look at it records-wise here. Both of them are kind of sitting on that edge where if they lose, playoffs might just be a thing that they might not be expecting this season. However, if they win, keeps their hopes alive for both of them here tonight. And these two teams have gone through a little bit of changes here as of late, but I think, are really well put together teams. Just got off to a really rough start to get everything started here this season.
Yeah, no, 100%. It could be rough not having the best start of the season. Adds a little bit of pressure, but just like me back in 2019, had the golden stage in the playoffs. You know, there's a way to do it. Both these teams, they're definitely capable of being able to pull it off. But hey, this map right here, Lijiang Tower. We know Lijiang Tower. It's a good map. It's a really good map. I once played on this map a long time ago. But the context is worrying about bans here, Mr. Tron, and of course Factor X is going to get the first ban. And lately, we have safe bans that these teams tend to go towards, and I think this one is likely to go the same route.
Yeah, it might go that way. However, we might see very much a targeted ban here. We've always seen one safe ban and one ban that's normally been one that left us scratching our heads, but one that we definitely saw in the later parts of the series be, oh, that's why we saw that ban come out here. So, especially with how well these two teams probably know each other, you would not be surprised. I would not be surprised to see a targeted ban come out here from either one of these teams, especially from Factor X here, especially as you look over the other side with the names on Agari Garfo. But no, I think a very safe ban coming out here for Factor X going into our first map of the night, and they get rid of the Kiri.
Yeah, Kiri, I think solid ban again. It's just a really safe ban to go with, so don't really blame you in the slightest. Uh, it's not more to say than that. It really is just a simple ban, just to take it out of the equation. It's gonna force either the route of maybe having to go down the Baptiste instead with the Lucio, or if you want to forego the Lucio, there's obviously Wuyong that can come out as well. Juno is there as well. There's definitely some really good alternatives. We'll have to see what the second ban is going to be. Surely, as it has been picked, but obviously we'll have to wait and see what it's going to be. Obviously, it's going to be either a DPS or a tank, though, and it looks as though it is a tank. Zarya, another safe ban in my perspective.
Yeah, a very safe ban here coming out from really both these two teams, but still, you talk about the impact that both these two heroes have in the game at the moment right now. Kiri probably still looked as maybe one of the strongest, if not the strongest support right there with Lucio and Zarya. While, yeah, you start to see a little bit less of Zarya in certain levels, OWCS, you still see it pop up there, but I feel like Faceit and a lot of the other teams have really started to say, like, okay, Zarya's not as strong as she was in the past. You really need to have that vendetta there to really make a lot of it work. So you get rid of it here, knowing that the Kiri was going to be gone. You just get rid of it so you don't have to deal with that Zarya vendetta comp coming out on this map where they can really cause a lot of problems here very early on. But for both these two teams, again, this leaves the door wide open. I mean, Lucio is still on the field, so who do you get on the as that second support? Do you get a Juno to play that Lucio Juno very fast comp? Do you get something like the Brig? Do you get something like the Wu Yang? I feel like we're going to be seeing the Wu Yang here because I feel like South America, Hunter, from what we've seen so far this year, has really shown us a lot more Wu Yang than anything else.
Yeah, Wuyong has really come into fruition in a lot of different ways. So to be fair, it really has been nice to see. Now, whether we'll get any here is coming up in the air. But one thing that is worth talking about, whether it sticks or not, is the Hazard. Because I don't know if you heard a little statistic, but Hazard right now, in terms of tanks, has the highest win rate in terms of the high ranks, which is weird. But to be fair, bro has not been touched a whole lot. It's had like slight buffs here and there, and right now is actually a pretty decent go-to.
Yeah, and I mean, you've seen Team Pep's No WCS try it. Granted, it hasn't really led to much success, but it's given them an identity that they've really kind of formed around here. And that's exactly what you see Agave Garfo coming out here with that hazard, like you mentioned. Gunny, though, on the other side for Fox or for Factor X is going to be showing us here that dominance. Still very strong right now. You see a lot of teams play it. However, this composition that you're seeing from Garfo wants to be able to run you down, and this hazard into this domina works very, very well for getting rid of space. However, you won't be able to do that without Rappa.
Yeah, it makes things a little more difficult, certainly so, but Gunny being down doesn't make it a whole lot easier either, so you have to find some level of alternative. Fizzy is trying to bounce around, find somebody, but at the very least, you're going to see this point be taken over to get things started. But of course, this could be a very quick thing as they're already bouncing around trying to find somebody to go after.
Yeah, and look, Gunny immediately getting off of the Domina, knowing that the pressure from the hazard is just going to be a little bit too much here. Goes straight over to the D.Va instead, maybe the meta tank at the moment. And I think especially for this point, does a really good job of just keeping position and also just does a good job of slowing down God Hanzo. Jagged Ball out, though, sectioning Gunny away from the rest of their team.
Yeah, Faceit, though, is going to be the first one to go down. Assassination comes through over onto Fizzy. Gunny can try to get out, but unfortunately, it's not going to happen. Eventually, everyone finished off only 26% ultimately, but it's not too bad considering you're going to have the overclock. But Capium is, wow, they have a lot coming up. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, they have a lot coming up here. I mean, you already see Sean, Lake Tech, Capium already going to have their ultimates here pretty early on. Fizzy's the only one that can really respond on the other side on this Soj. But right now, if you're Agave Garfo, this is exactly what you wanted here to get going. Yeah, you lost the first fight, but you really only lost God Hanzo. Yeah, you lost Rappa, but Rappa's playing loose here. They can get back very quickly. Look, you already have the override protocol online. You're going to have Nano. Postmon came out early from Lake Town. Not going to be able to find anyone, but that's an ultimate that can build up so quickly. You're okay getting rid of that one early, but now the override protocol coming up from Sean pretty early on.
Yeah, and everyone is just in the room, and I mean, there's no real escape. And this one is there. Shaunov takes themselves out, but they're going to be able to lock in. And again, Gunny just has to try to run and get the reset over off on the point. There's no real, getting out of that one is Rappa will build up closer to that sound barrier as they only have to go ahead and use the override protocol to win that fight.
I actually think there was a chance that Gunny could have been able to get out there and gone back to the safety of their team because you really didn't see anyone there from Garfo saying like, hey, yeah, we're going to chase them down, but nope, just played safe. But you look over at Factor X right now. You have Overclock, you have Barrage, you're going to have an Orbital, and you're going to have Bomb as well. But already the Nano out from God Hanzo.
Yeah, and it's the solo Barrage that comes through, and it puts them in a good position, but no, Free gets moved off the map. And to be fair, it's just Sean up and Capium right now. I don't think it's going to matter a whole lot. The question is, can you stay alive in here?
I mean, you're going to get the point flip right now if you're Factor X, which is exactly what you needed. You just need to get rid of Sean off. I think that's the biggest problem right now. Vito from Rafa going to be able to keep everyone alive here as Garfo wants to play very, very quickly. Downpour going to be able to trap two. Yeah,
it's really good by God Hanzo. Sean off more than happy to finish the equation, and now a bomb gets used, unfortunately, to no substantial degree as it's going to be a dash to get back to the point. Vulture going to go over to the Tracer now instead.
Fizzy now going over to the Cassie instead. Maybe a little bit more confident on that hit scan compared to Sean off on the other side on that Emre. Gunny now going over to the ball. A lot of desperation touches going to be coming out here now from Factor X, but you still have both those support ultimates. If you can get a fight going towards point, you're going to have two strong ultimates to back you up there.
Yep, at least you get the overtime come through. Gunny doing their darndest to kind of stay over on the point. Folsom also going to miss, so there is a chance to hang in here, make something happen, especially as you take the trade out. Get rid of the Emre. Especially as it was the only ult available at that time for Riek, though, needs to try to keep some bodies alive as the rally's there. But it might need to be sooner rather than later. You're back into the 3v3. You can sustain for so long on this point with a rallying Brig and a wrecking ball in hand. But it's not just about stalling. It's being able to somehow find somebody in this fight because Shaunov is forcing everybody to have to rotate out and around, hide as much as they can. But all it's causing for them is just being picked off one by one, and Dextron, try as they might, this will eventually be surrendered, and this one turns pretty quickly, as this is a pretty good start here, ultimately, to get things going.
Yeah, I would have honestly loved to kind of seen Factor X stick with that Domina there, because I thought that maybe give them the best chance there going. I understand why they went to the D.Va. Even I said maybe it's a little bit better, especially going up against God Hanzo playing this Hazard. But I think we saw why some teams are really liking this Hazard playstyle. Very sustainable tank on their own, has good abilities, a wall to really get people away so they can heal up. Then you just have the block, which does so much. It's like a Ramatra for the most part. I mean, other than the fact that Ramatras cannot damage people. It's really like Ramatras. You really ignore a lot of damage and allows you just kind of play a little bit more aggressively there. And that's why God Hans was able to find so much. But at the same time, you have to talk about Shanoff. You have to talk about Ligtat there for that Garfo team to get everything going. They're playing off angles, and they're playing them really, really well. Volition and Fizzy are really going to have to be able to try to shut down Shanoff, who's being a constant nuisance on this Emre. However, that's just a normal thing with Emre. Emre can just do a bunch of damage. It's really much like a launch Freya, where it just seemed like she wasn't doing a lot, but then you look at the stats and notice that she has 4,000 more damage than anyone else.
Yeah, it's been a little crazy thus far. Gunny is eventually going to win the tank 1v1. Point's going to open up as well as Ligtat might be able to get a temporary touch, but instead it's going to be just backing out for the moment. You just need to regroup because without God Hanzo, that's a really tough retake.
And here's one other thing I'm just looking at right now, especially when it comes to damage. The supports for this Factor X team, for this Garfo team, only have about not even 1,000 damage. Everyone on the other side has over 2,000. So there's a little bit of difference there that really shows that the supports are trying to do a lot more here for Factor X. For Aik, though, not going to be a part of this fight.
Yeah, losing God Hanzo doesn't make it any easier, but Ligtat's trying to alleviate things to a degree. Eventually has to recall out. But you see everyone taking angles. They're not just all pressing on front. You people on left, people down center. Eventually a push coming around right as well with God Hanzo coming back. So there are definitely plenty of options, especially with a nice slit coming through there from Cathium. It's going to put them in a really good position to potentially take back this point. But Volition over on the far has been a menace thus far. Unfortunately, we'll have to give it up momentarily.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier to play the far on this map compared to Gardens, where the far can really just play around the outside of the map. And yeah, Shanoff will have good options or angles to find them, but they're going to have to play very safe with those angles because Volition's actually in the better spot playing around the outside than Shanoff maybe playing on point towards the center of the map here. Ultimate online, Ligtat has a pulse bomb, really hasn't found any success with it just yet, but Volition going to be able to take care of Rappa here early on.
Yeah. Simple trade to get things going. A pulse bomb ready for Ligtat. Would love to catch on to somebody. Unfortunately, is going to miss out. Has a couple of really low bodies, though, so it's not done just yet, but it's going to be a really good shot coming through as Shanoff is going to let this loose. Unfortunately, you just don't really have the firepower to sustain in here, especially as Gunny is just going to live through the override protocol.
Yeah, but this is going to be a really quick re-engage here now from Garfo as they do have some ultimates going online. But look at the other side. I was going to talk about Fizzy's overclock, but now you will only have 3 ultimates going in this fight for Factor X. That's still enough ultimates to really get something going here, but the Rampage already out.
Yeah, it's going to get rid of Capium right there, but the question is it going to be enough? And unfortunately, it just doesn't look like it's going to be right there. As Gunny going to take one down, but unfortunately, the flip is still going to have to come through. But there could be a chance for a quick regroup.
Gunny, though, needs to get a health pack somewhere. They're going to be able to get the large one, but still, Ligtat just pressuring them down here. Almost gets them out. Downpour out. That's going to be able to find on a 3.
Oh, and it's clean. Everyone's caught up in there. Ligtat finishes off 2 of them right there. And now it's time to get out. But to be fair, with that investment right there, there is a lot ready to be invested here by Factor X.
A lot to be invested by Factor X. Also, a lot to be invested by Garfo here. You have both your support ultimates, much like Factor X, and you have a pulse bomb from Ligtat. But like I already said, the pulse bombs have kind of been done so far from both teams, but one find in the center would be huge, and there's the one.
That's what you're looking for right there. Now, double sound barrier about to be online. Question is now, what do you do? You're at 70% of counter. You're going to try to force a back cap of some kind. And to be fair, they're close to getting it, actually. They won't, but it causes everybody to jump back to point. And I think ultimately this is going to work a lot better for Factor X.
It really should, but they need to get going towards point. They want to try to keep this percentage that they've already built up here, but it all goes away. Big ult fight coming up here as beat out from one side. I'm waiting for 4A to respond with theirs, but no, it's going to be Starry Nights overall.
Yeah, barely is able to keep some bodies alive. Rather, gonna have to look at solo ults in now. We're going to get close to the overtime peak, but realistically, this fight's not going to go much beyond that. His vision gets pooped off somehow, some way, but still, Flip will come through. So now it's one fight online, and unfortunately, they're going into the nanoed Emre, potentially.
Yeah, you were laughing there for much different reasons. Ligtat was just kind of sitting on point while everyone else was fighting. It was kind of funny there for a brief moment. Look at Fizzy over to the Torb now. Very interesting pick. That is just going to get a little bit more damage, I imagine, onto this Emre, especially as you already see him going in the sky.
Oh, no. Yeah, and that's going to get rid of one. Oh, there's likely a second one coming here with Starry Night who gets taken out. Looking to get the hat trick, and it's going to help out with a little force coming through from Capium. Flip's going to come through, and for Agave Garfo, they're going to clean up shop, take away Lijiang Tower to get this match started.
Yeah, a really good first map here for Garfo. Factor X got better as it went on, but Garfo was just more consistent throughout the entirety of it there. They came out with a plan, really didn't make any swaps. Factor X, they had to make some swaps. The Jungle Queen that we saw there late for them, I thought was a really good addition or a really good change. It looked really good for them, just weren't able to get over the edge there. But still, this is what we kind of expected from the series. Both these teams, like I said, not necessarily fighting for their season lives, but a loss here tonight for both of them could really put them in jeopardy for maybe just trying to stay in Masters tier. So this one is very important for both of them. Agave, Garfo getting the upper hand here in our first map.
Yeah, it's a really good start for them. Again, it is still a lot of back and forth, which tells me a lot from what we're probably going to see for the rest of the series. But at the same time, you do need just a little bit more of that fight back coming through for Factor X. A team that we saw last week was able to bounce back with a couple of these new members on the roster, looked a lot better as well. They need to be able to capitalize on that because they're going against a team that, on paper, is a really strong team. It's kind of a wonder that they are technically 2-2 right now. We'll see if they can kind of follow through with this. It is worth talking about their subs as well. A couple players that very much have started in their own right. Gustagobo and Dystopia, who in their own have done phenomenal things in the last couple seasons of Faceit League. As to whether we'll see them or not, obviously that is something we'll have to see down the line.
Yeah, I mean, this Garfo team, like you said, it's a surprise that they've struggled coming out of the gate, especially with the names on it. But I think that's just it. A little bit of a slump to get the start of their season. I think they're going to be able to bounce back. Grant, I think they still have maybe 1 or 2 more games, tough games left to go that they will have to win or at least have good showings in. But still, this Agave Garfo team should be one that we are talking about towards the upper part of the standings right now, maybe towards the playoffs. However, because of the rough start, they're kind of on the outside looking in here. Factor X, though, we saw the changes to them last week. Yeah, they went up against a tough game or a tough team last week in the game that we did see them play. But still, this team, especially with the new additions to it, is a team that really could go on a little bit of a run here, but they need to get it corrected here as we go over to Servasa. And Factor X bans out the Doomfist.
Yeah, it is what is in the scenario. To be fair, I think the way we want to view this, hopefully, is just a tank protection. I think there's too many DPS to worry about having to let's ban the M-Ray. It's like, I feel like I'm going to want to map outside of Servasa to ban that M-Ray. And here, you're able to kind of keep your tank situation open. It gives them a lot more opportunities to work with things. And honestly, I don't mind that either. Because God Hanzo, I think, was doing a lot of good things over, or I should say, I'm reversing. I'm mixing things up in my head. What I'm trying to say is, it's just really good that you have those options present because you could very much see Garfo ban out a tank that could shut down the hazard because at this point, there's definitely a couple of tanks out there that are really good at shutting down the haz.
Well, at that point, it should be Factor X. Yeah, I mean, no, I get what you're saying here now. But Garfo has put in their ban here. I mean, this is a map for Factor X that you really need to get something going here. And Factor X decides to say, hey, remember Kiri not being part of last map? Guess what? She's not a part of this one as well. So, I mean, again, you're getting rid of maybe one of the strongest, if not the strongest support in the game at the moment. And I don't think that's a bad thing here. I don't think a Kiri ban is necessarily ever a bad ban or a waste of a ban. I think it's always a good one. In Factor X, I think they really like the play style that they had last map, even though they didn't come out on top because the Kiri wasn't there.
Yeah, and you're still going down with it at this point. Because the Kiri, I think, can be really good to take care of stuff like the M-Ray. Not necessarily to kill the M-Ray, but it helps a lot with care. You can't be caught out as easily. You have to cleanse as well. It puts you in a much better situation. But we'll see if it makes things any easier as we get into Servasa, second map of the series. As you can see right now, no swaps coming through for either side. We'll see if things change in terms of this lineup. Now, because with the Zerai back into play, it's very likely you're going to see the combo with God Hanzo and, oh my goodness, God, I can't speak English today. You know I'm talking about Volition potentially going the Vendetta. That's all I gotta say.
I think you mean God Hanzo and Ligtat. But I will say this, amazing on the side of Factor X, that is DM. DM has streamer names on right now. Just so everyone knows, that is DM. We'll try to make sure we say that right throughout this entire map. But coming out of the gate here, I mean, it's not a shock to see Agave Garfo stick with this hazard. Again, it's always one of those things where I'm a big proponent of, or a big person that says like, hey, let's just keep on running this comp until they prove they can actually beat it. DM now going over to the Domino, which really did lead them to the one team fight they had one there on Gardens, where it looked very, very good. However, you see here, no Lucio, no Kiri for the side of Factorex. Instead, Juno Brig, which has been, I think, a support line. Me and you, Hunter, have been seeing a little bit more here lately. A very different kind of support line as Shaunoff. Those nades, they're deadly.
Definitely deadly to have to deal with, but we'll see how things go. Sorry, not being down early is definitely a really big hindrance. You take all that care from Diem, and yeah, that fight's just over just like that. And you said to yourself earlier on, this hat's just going to stick around until it is taken care of.
Yeah, and it's one thing here where you kind of have to ask, does DM does DM know how to play the hazard here? Do you mirror it just because it's doing that much? Do you just try to say like, hey, we're just going to try to make this a pretty much a null thing, an even thing across the board, and have our DPS lines kind of speak for each other here, or speak for themselves here? Because both these DPS lines, very, very good in their own right, but you already see the positioning that Agave Garfo is getting set up with here. God Hanzo on that high ground, they're really getting a good idea of where everyone's coming from here, and can easily make the jump to pounce on someone early.
Yeah, Busy down early, puts you in a better position. But again, you're taking these trades rather early on. It sucks to lose out on someone like Rafa so early because you lose some of that aggression that you normally could have, or at least an enabler for all that aggression. But now we're sitting near 60% already. Hanzo is getting forced back, but DM's not going to be able to accomplish a whole lot in this scenario right now. Eventually getting cut off is going to be burnt down. It was 70% on the board. Dex, I struggle to believe they can regroup potentially for this fight.
No, at this point, losing for Ake, you just need to get out of this one. Starry Night with a late stagger. You just need to get out, regroup here. Maybe even make some swaps, because while we're seeing this Juno Brig show up in a lot more places, you're still seeing right now this Honor Lucio that Agave Garfo's playing just is a little bit better. That speed to really help God Hanzo get around. And Capium, I mean, it's going to have this nano here, and they have options. Let's just say that to be able to give it on who to give it to here. But now, I mean, you're going over to a point, a very open point. This could be a good one here for DM on this Vendetta. Actually, wow, I followed Leg Tat to the wrong point. Honestly, everything I just said, other than it being open, this is a much more closed point. Again, though, I still think it kind of fits the mold better of this Domina, being able to kind of push people around, especially have that Fractal be able to find a little bit more value here, but still, God Hanzo can just dive in, have a loss sustain. Ooh, almost gets pushed off, but Leg Tat finally hitting those pulse bombs.
Yeah, that's what you're open for right there, and of course you see hanging around is Shaunoff again on this Emray, as you're going to see a Panopticon come through from Diem, and unfortunately it's going to get nothing. And for me, this just screams, yeah, we're done with the Domina.
Yeah, I mean, Diem will get Capium, if that's any consolation there, but it looks like they're going to stick with the Domina here. One more life, I have to believe, because it's just not working out for them. But again, it's the thing of, like, what do they go here now? Because they've tried Diva. Honestly, the Jungle Queen looked well for them. I'm surprised we're not seeing the Queen coming out right now, considering we saw the Doomfist ban come out from here. But still, you look over now at Garfo. They have Downpour. They're going to have beat. They have both their support ultimates. They're in a really good spot here right now. Support ultimates both online here soon for Factor X. This is probably their fight if they want to try to take it to go fast with.
Yep, and you're going to try to get the door open. Nice sleep coming through, though. Busy pulled down, still manages to find the shot over onto Shaunoff. It's a really good position for them to be on right now. Unfortunately, it's the burn away coming through. It's going to be 71 on the board. And your bright side is Capium running out of there should be able to get out alive.
And a 1-for-1 ult trade there. I mean, honestly, that's what you want there if you're Factor X. You want that fight to go exactly that way. You don't have to use your support elements. You know the other side still has support elements, but look at Leg Tat. Pulse Bomb back online. They've been able to land their past couple ones here, so this could be the opportunity for them to find something early on to really give their team a huge momentum boost right now. But look at the positioning coming out here as Leg Tat already just trying to be a little bit of a pest in that backline. Almost finds Volition there.
Ooh. Yeah, almost does. Really close from slicing them down. But now the Nano is here, and this is not the Nano I want to walk into, but God Hanzo's getting stunned out quite a lot. It's likely not going to be enough, but Leg Tat again with a nice stick has been hitting the last 3 in a row. Fizzy just has to run over towards the point, and that's the cleanup coming through here. But a nice late blow here. Okay. Volition sticks a Pulse Bomb. It's down to the 1v1.
Volition just going to try to run into that health pack. I mean, they're not going to be able to live here, but you do take the slight lead if you're Factor X, and you'll gladly take that, especially with all the ultimates that are used there. Every support ultimate and both Pulse Bombs. Granted, both Pulse Bombs actually did find value there. Leg Tat and Volition found a pick with their Pulse Bombs. However, this could be a dry fight coming into this one here, but if you're Factor X, you need to run quickly. Be ready for God Hanzo to have that downpour online. You just need to have someone get a touch. Damn, no, not that far away from but no, the Jagged Wall denies them at the door, and you can just feel that be a heartbreaker, a backbreaker as well.
Yeah, unfortunately so. Shaunoff also gets her at 3 to finish the fight. Oh my god. And now they're going to have to reset once more. And unfortunately, I think the Domina's finding value, but I don't think it's finding value until it's honestly kind of too late for it to, Dex.
Yeah, I have to kind of agree with you there. Like, DM's doing good on it for Aik now. Going over to the Mizuki instead. Interesting to see that one come out here. I don't hate it. I really don't, especially if you can, you know, get God Hanzo with the chain. You could be able to try to kick him out early, which might be the idea here, especially as they keep going in. They get hit with the chain, but they actually are able to get out.
Yeah, now it's going to be downpour. It catches out. DM right here. It's the cleanup coming through. Just Faceit and Volition hanging around at this point. You're putting some bodies over on the point. And so far, this is all, you know, Agave Garfo just trucking on forward. They are being relentless.
Ligtat and God Hanzo right now combined are 39-2. I mean, they're playing out of their minds here for this Garfo team, and I'm not surprised. We know how good these players can be given the right situations, and so far they've just been on fire. Start tonight, Fizzy going back over to the Torp here. We saw this a little bit on the second point on Li Jiang. It was only, I think, a round for truly a fight, but I think they're just kind of running out of ideas here, hoping that this turret's going to be able to at least keep God Hanzo away from diving into that backline.
Yep, override protocol available, and then Nano thrown in as well. The poor turret never stood a chance. But for everybody else, they're struggling a bit as well. Fizzy's down really early. GM has been throwing every bit of damage in the world. And unfortunately, these late picks mean it's going to be a mad dash to even touch this point. And for Volition, it's still going to be a struggle.
I'm looking at DM here. Maybe make a swap. Yep, over to the ball. Volition could have Pulse Bomb online. You're not that far away from Sanctuary for Aik, but you need to find someone to get their Volition throws at the Pulse Bomb. Not going to be able to find a pick with it, but still, who's going to be the touch? DM trying to get there, but the Jagged Wall going to stop him. And I think with that one wall right there, no one else is going to get there in time. And Garfo takes this map handily.
Yeah, it unfortunately doesn't end up being particularly close. Like, it was to start. It felt like it had a little back and forth to it, a little bounce, you may say. Unfortunately, it just doesn't go their way after that fact. They never really, they take a couple of successful fights, but that third point to end things out was just a complete shutdown. And unfortunately, it's not like it's just one person popping off from Agave Garfo. It is the team firing on all cylinders. It's everybody locking in the same way that we thought they would be locked in that first week. To be fair, maybe this is the sign that, hey, maybe something has clicked. Maybe they've gotten something going in this respect, to be fair. Rafa now being on this team is coming in and has been a force already, is helping out a lot. So far, it's working out really well for them.
Yeah, it's working out really well for them. And honestly, I'm just sitting here looking at the stats for this last map. Hunter, it's really much one-sided. Maybe one of the most one-sided maps me and you have seen in a while here. 8 deaths for Agave Garfo. That entire map. 8 deaths. The other side, DM had 8 deaths on their own. And I'll leave it there. It was a rough map for Factor X. And we talked about that. Domina, yeah, well, it worked really good in one fight that we saw on Li Jiang Tower. I think they're really hoping to see that kind of same play happen again and again here on Surabasa. It just didn't work for them. And I think you call it right after the first Panopticon came out from them that they really should have made the swap. But I really think that they were just kind of saying, like, what do I go to here? Because the Diva didn't work. I thought the Jungle Queen did do a decent amount of job, but it feels like it was one of those plays where the Jungle Queen maybe just not in their wheelhouse, especially on a map like Surabasa. However, I always say Jungle Queen and Flashpoint maps go hand in hand, but still, you need a little bit more performance from the rest of the team there for Factor X as well. We can point at DM, but still, everyone else very much did struggle there, that map.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see how it changes, though. They do end up pulling the Hazard card, so Hazard banned out here for Factor X. To be fair, I just think that's the correct decision. Ultimately, the Emre obviously has been tough to deal with as well, but the Hazard really has been the crux for them thus far.
Yeah, and just talk about the Hazard play so far from God Hanzo. 7 deaths so far on these first 2 maps. Only 1 this last map. They've been doing excellently. And you talked about it. We're starting to see, at least in just comp play, Hazard have a great amount of success with win rate and just being picked here. And you're slowly starting to see it happen in OWCS as well. Like I said, Team Peps has started to play that Hazard. Granted, it hasn't really led them to any wins just yet, but you're still seeing that Hazard comp is really giving the other team some problems very early on. Then they're eventually able to solve it. Factor X, they just haven't been able to solve it just yet. So I like the ban here to get rid of the Hazard. Now, Agave Garfo, Well, they don't want to see the newest leader of Talon in this map. So Vendetta taken out as well here. So I think if you're a Garfo, you're basically saying, we don't want to see that Zarya from your side here. So we're just going to get rid of the Vendetta. So you really do not have that option to play that. Because I think right now, Garfo is very much comfortable into whatever Tang Factor X throws at them.
No, 100%. I think there's a really good comfortability coming through from the squad. And it makes sense ultimately too, doesn't it? Because this is God Hanzo, someone who I think has a lot of flexibility, quite frankly. We've seen them, well, on the Hazard today, seen them a lot on that Diva previous as well, has shown off really good things over on the Zarya as well. There's a lot of flexibility in today's Overwatch. It's really important to have that flexibility, and honestly, I would even double down and say it's important, especially here in South America, where while there are specialty tanks, you have players like Anos that come in here, and you just don't know what they're going to play sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's a really good feature to have in some players. Just like they have such a deep hero pool, you just never know necessarily what to expect from them. It really always leaves the other team guessing. Again, Crusader, that is DM. We'll try to call it DM. Well, I think we did a good job calling them DM last map throughout the entirety of it. But again, now without the Hazard, what do we see God Hanzo go to? I think that's the most important thing, especially for this map. Do we see him go over to the Diva? Do we see him try to Zarya? So even without the Vendetta, you can see that be replaced with something like a Tracer, like a Venture, like a Genji here. And it looks like they're going to stick with the Zarya, at least coming out of the gate. The other side, though, DM, showing us that Diva here again. Volition and Fizzy basically sticking with the same DPS line they've been playing throughout the majority of this series. And for and sorry, not going back over to the tried and true support line. Rafa is showing us the cat.
Are we catting it up today? Oh, it's Fika time. Let's go.
We are seeing her in all of her glory. God Hanzo makes the late swap here over to the Diva. It's going to be really interesting to see what this cat, how the cat plays in this kind of composition that you're seeing come out here from Agave Garfo. Just considering, like, who do you tether here? Do you tether God Hanzo? Do you tether Shonoff? I think those are really the only two that you could realistically tether rather than just trying to pull someone away from a sticky situation.
Yeah, definitely so. We'll see what happens, though, as Volition somehow not recall. Just doesn't recall. Tries to go for the Mega Health Pack instead, and I totally get it. It just doesn't work out. And now you have free reign if you like to start burning people down. You see the pressure in the back line immediately come to form right here, and it's going to pay off right down. And you're going to be able to truck on forward because everyone else, unfortunately, just has to back up.
Yeah, and again, we talked about it here. Do you get rid of the Hazard, or do you get rid of this Emre? And they got rid of the Hazard. Granted, the Hazard's been doing great for them, but this Emre from Shonoff has been a sight to see here. You do get a little bit of a pull there from Rafa, but Shonoff almost puts himself in the worst spot. Her DM gonna get just, I think, punished for their gluttony there.
Yeah, a little bit. It's been a little rough, and now this checkpoint's pretty much all but secured, especially the fact is you're having late picks come through, and right now, it's just been all Garfo, and it just continues to be all Garfo.
Yeah, again, this was the Garfo that we kind of expect to see at the start of the season. Granted, they had a really rough schedule at the start of the season. Now I think they're getting to the part of their schedule where they're comfortable going up against anyone here, and especially with how they're playing right now, this is a team you really have to start fearing here. Still, though, a lot of time left for Factor X to come back this one, but they need to have a fight go their way. Busy and Volition already low. Not the thing you want to see, but you'll take that trade.
Yeah, it's a bit of an awkward trade, but again, spawns are way closer for you in this scenario. Fizzy's trying to keep things going to the best of their own ability, as Shonoff is doing everything in their power as well. Eventually will be finished off here as that bot heading back the other way. Everyone looks like they're going to get good response. Actually, Shonoff is going to miss out on them. Oh, maybe? I don't know. No, they're going to get him.
Yeah, they're going to get them there. Look, very lucky. Nice play there by Rafa to make sure that no one got the spawn resets. And a little bit of an unfortunate play there for Factor X. Now they're kind of split up. DM away from the rest of their team could easily demech here. But the beat coming out here, as you really want to see this bot get at least reset the spawns here.
Oh! And nice little thanks in there for God Hanzo, as you're going to see DM have to use the bomb here momentarily. Stick again! Look at that, someone gets it onto Volition, and now it's just the cleanup for the DPS duo, and unfortunately where DM is at right now, you see DM just trying to get ready and go off the edge and just get this thing over with really quickly. Just gets bounced around, though.
Volition, I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of with you there with the how. Okay.
Anyway, we are still...
It's kind of lagging
crazy
for me
game,
bit.
huh? Yeah, a little bit.
But right now, again, I mean, if you're Agave Garfo here, you're loving how this map is going for you. 3 minutes in, you already have the 4 checkpoints. You still have some ultimates coming up here. Grant, you have an overclock from Fizzy on the other side, which they've been able to find some success with that in the past, but they really need some success with it now to at least get their team jump-started here.
Yeah, you're hoping. You have Considered Rush. You have one to mess with Capium, obviously, but it really just does come down to Fizzy instead to find that space. Again, a Link Tat, that is a really good way of getting this one rocking and rolling, but still, Godhanzo going to try to retain this mech. Getting out here is not going to be able to. In the situation that we're in, you're basically going to surrender your right to get the mech back, die on point, and with that, Godhanzo should miss out on the forward spawns unless we have another potential retouch.
Where's Rafa? I mean, you have Link Tat here, going to be able to start up for a little bit. However, Godhanzo, because of that slight stagger there,
they got it.
Just barely gets forward spawns with them here. So this could be a really quick re-engage now for Agave Garfo, especially with 2 ultimates online. Be ready for it. However, Rafa and Shanoff flying around in the backline.
Wait, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Now,
okay.
Oh, no. And Shanoff, the damage has already been done. And now, again, late death coming through here. And to be fair, you could stagger this, but you're just going to make it a quick one. Move forward. And for them, I think that's the confidence of like, hey, we think we can finish this map.
Yeah, I mean, we're in that point where we can start talking about 50-50 Overwatch, because I think that's exactly what's been happening for at least the last 3 minutes of this game. But still, you have about an 80 or about 70-meter lead. You're going to be able to get back to the barrier right now. And you have some ultimates to play with, only the bomb and the override protocol online for them. But you look over at the other side. This will be the fight where if you're Factor X, this is the one that kind of gets your foot in this, gets a foothold on this map, gets your kind of confidence built up.
Yeah, but this is the one you need right here. See, everyone back out immediately. Does not want to deal with Fizzy, and so far, no one going down as a direct result, but still, bomb gonna be dropped in, and it's gonna be I can't believe it, and now you see Shanoff just going through trying to find somebody. Fizzy's a little separated, unfortunately. Fizzy is gonna be running for their existence.
Yeah, Rafa had a fresh hot and ready bomb delivery there, especially saved up for Starry Night. Who I don't think ordered one, but this is one you could not say no to. However, still 4 ultimates about to be online here for Factor X, so you're still in the spot for Factor X where you could easily turn around. But the one thing you really struggle to do this map so far is just be able to actually win a team fight. Pulse out here from Lake Town, not gonna be able to find anyone. You need to be able to punish Lake Town here, especially as they're playing so far in the back line.
Yeah, but big cleanses there in time from Capium to get things going. Now, Volition just needs to find somebody here to get this onto. Give yourself some advantage to work with thus far, because it has been, as you said, 50-50 Overwatch this entire time thus far, but it's Link Tat who's getting things started instead, and now Considered Rush in complete desperation try to pull this one back around. You're going to be able to see the remech come through here for DM, but this doesn't solve any issues currently. Volition has fallen over. Freyak has the beat, obviously, but I think at this point it might be too far gone to have an attempt to be able to use it. Unfortunately, this means this is going to extend into the 100-meter mark, and honestly, probably much more than that.
Yeah, especially with all these picks they're finding here late, you still only have, I believe that's Fizzy and Starry Night. Never mind, just check that. Make it Fizzy. And check that. Make it no one here right now. So yeah, 100 meters and counting now. This is going to probably become a 100-meter lead here very, very quickly. It's still with about 3.5 minutes left to go. You could be talking about a map completion here, and that would be the perfect thing to cap off this series here for Agave Garfo, as I think they're trying to reintroduce themselves here now to this region, saying like, hey, we are still a threat, but only the beat online here for Factor X. You look over at the other side, they're about to have 4 ultimates, Hunter. They are looking to complete this map with time.
Yeah, this sound barrier is super important as it's out, and Freyak is going to get missed out on, so now you can likely save the sound barrier, but still, even though this fight could be lost, you're going to try to get everybody out alive, especially Godhanzo, who has still all the care in the world, and they're just going to keep backing up and backing up.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what you have to do right now. If you're Agave Garfo, you don't necessarily have to play aggressively here. Beat out from Freyak, as you see the override protocols coming out from both sides.
Yeah, and they're trying to go for each other. Shanoff is in a bit of an awkward spot. He's getting pressured, but no one down quite yet. In fact, it's Capium who ends up going down first and foremost. Godhanzo has that remech still available. Oh, no. Would love to get rid of Fizzy and get this in a good position instead. Is going to have to go down. In fact, is going to indeed use the bomb here, but isn't going to get the remech in time. So now you have an actual, like, white beginning to come through here. There's a couple of bodies as Rafa does go down, but Rafa catches onto the Godhanzo and Shanoff respawns, so again, 4 respawns available.
Yeah, but this is a fight right there that you absolutely need if you're Factor X. Even though you might not be able to get the forward spawns here, actually, which you'll be able to. Oh, DM needs to get out. They need to get out. They need to be a part of this fight coming up here. But this is a fight here that could really turn around this entire map. And Volition finds one. However, the Tether finds Fizzy.
Bye, Fizzy. It was good knowing you, buddy. Yeah, that one's cooked. And unfortunately, this is another fight that's going to go into their favor. And with 2 minutes left, I mean, this is exactly what Garfo wants. They are in prime position right now to finish this one out.
Absolutely prime position. God, Hanzo gonna be able to find DM out there, and I mean, it would not have mattered if you staggered them out there. Honestly, you probably could have, and it would have been a massive stagger as well. But you look over at the ultimates here for both these teams. Lictat, Pulse Bomb is the only thing ready to go here now for Garfo for the longest time. You still have Bomb, Consuming Rush, and Beat coming online if you're Factor X, but I feel like I've been saying the same thing over and over again, Hunter. I'm almost a scratched record at this point. With Factor X having the ult economy and saying, hey, this could be the fight that really stabilizes them in this map. However, they just haven't been able to find any success so far.
No, none so far, and Shonoff again gets a big one here. Pulse Bomb's kind of chucked into the ether there by Lictat, but at this point, you're forcing everybody back. You're still in a really good position. Remake has to be used here, and man, this is rough. This Consuming Rush, if it's used, it needs to find something massive.
I mean, getting rid of Raph is big, but you immediately lose Volition, which is something I guess you'll take. Both those heroes coming back to the fight very quickly. However, Capium and Lictat just kind of patrolling the high ground right now. Lictat eventually going to be shut down, but still, this is a point where if you're Factor X, you need to get it going.
Oh, you absolutely have to, and they're still in a really rough position because there's still people hiding around the back, and eventually they're going to get cleared out. But again, forward spawns available for everybody. Capium at least should be able to get it, as everyone just backs out. Are they going to do it again back there? They're looking like it. They're going to do it again.
They tried setting up for it last time. Yep, Shonoff and Rappa are going. I thought you were talking about Rappa and God Hanzo. Bomb is ready, but actually no, the override protocol coming out here early on from Fizzy.
Yeah, and it's finding some kind of space. Capium is hit once, and it's going to be able to get out alive for the moment being. God Hanzo's going to have the bomb remake right here, so is going to be able to likely retain as they're going to try to chase some bodies down. But Fizzy needs a bit of a brick wall momentarily. It comes out of the 1v1, and Fizzy, for the moment's alive, but still it's a 4v4. Pulse Bomb hits perfectly, but Rafa is the one starting to clutch this one around. Has already gotten rid of 2. And unfortunately, just Volition and Starry Night to try to clutch this one up, and touches are still coming through somehow, some way. Volition needs to get one more to get enough time for DM to potentially retouch, but unfortunately, I think this one's too far gone, and this is going to be Garfo back at their finest. Take this in 3-1 fashion over Factor X.
Yeah, 3-0 fashion over Factor X. Man, it was a really dominant series for Garfo. I mean, we were talking about after that first map where Factor X kept it really close on Night Market there of Lijiang Tower, and I think that both me and you were really thinking, okay, Factor X, they figured something out there. Next map's gonna be a lot closer. They bring us Cervasa, and it's anything but close. It's a dominant map there from Agave Garfo. They just look so strong throughout this entire series, especially after the first map right there, where they really just took control of the maps early on and never really let Factor X get into them. A much better performance here for Factor X in this last map, but still, you saw the problems they were having there with just getting going, and just great plays from Garfo, being able to stall out the bot just so everyone would get those forward spawns. And you saw it there, I believe 3 times where one person would just stall it out, everyone would get those forward spawns, they would back out and then re-engage very, very quickly. Factor X, they just struggled to be able to clean up team fights.
Yeah, it was a really big struggle because a lot of these fights were able to go back and forth. But I think the 2 biggest factors is, one, just the great start that Garfo gave themselves to put themselves in such a really good position to where they could play the 50-50 style throughout the entirety of the rest of the map. It's massive to put yourself in that position, but also because even if they did lose a fight, they were stalling off at this point massively, enough to where there's maybe like one fight that they lost where they didn't get the forward spawns, whether it was Lictat stalling, whether it was Rafa stalling. Someone would always touch that point long enough for everybody to get back in time, to the point where you could even put yourself into a good position to realistically take back-to-back fights. In fact, I don't know if there is an instance that entire last map where Factor X did win back-to-back fights.
No, there wasn't. There was their last push. They got the most meterage there. Actually, that was where the barrier ended for them. And it was mostly because, well, Agave Garfo just backed up, regrouped, let them go at it there for a little bit. Tried to get a little bit of the cat play going again. Didn't end up working out for them, but no one died from it. So it still left them in a good spot to re-engage very quickly there. I mean, they knew what they had to do. Agave Garfo could have lost back-to-back fights and still had enough time there to really have one more fight to go before Factor X was going to probably be at that golden line of victory right there, but just wasn't the case. Agave Garfo did such a good job just controlling that entire map right there. And I'm just looking at the stats. 40 combined kills there for that DPS line, 22 again for God Hanzo. I mean, God Hanzo just played incredibly this series, but I think you can still look at Rafa and Capian, who we didn't talk about a lot throughout the series, but still, I mean, you always talk about it. If we're not talking about the sports, they are doing their job. And man, Rafa and Capian did a really good job here tonight for Garfo.
Did a phenomenal job. It's worth talking about so much, the amount of consistency. And you kind of I'll double down on that point with you. We're not talking about a whole lot. That's great. It's a good thing when we're not talking about them consistently. They put themselves in a really good position to where you have a scenario where you can find a lot of aggression, but there's also times where it's like, hey, we know to hold back here. We know as Cappy and Rafa decide, hey, we know when we're going in too deep, and we know when God Hanzo is in the comms yelling, move in, move in, move in, and we go and we get aggressive. It's that simple, I think, for the squad. They play a very straightforward style, all things realistically, but I think it fits the way that this team functions. So I love the way they've kind of adjusted so far with the short period the season has had so far. Now it's about replicating that success against these other teams.
Yeah. And I mean, still, again, a couple more games to go here for them. I actually think Garfo, halfway through their season now, Factor X, I think they're at that same point here as well. So you're on the back half of your season. How does it go? Do you keep up the momentum, or does it slowly fall apart to go half and half here? It's gonna be very interesting to watch these two teams, because I still believe Factor X, they have the members on this team to maybe make a run here. They need some help though at this point. Garfo, though, like I said, I think tonight they were reintroducing themselves here to this South American region as a team that has to be really looked at, saying like, hey, this team can really take it to anyone on any night.
Yep, you have to take that into consideration. And moving forward, a lot of these teams they're going to go up against, they have to accept that fact very much as well. And it's a tough fact to have to deal with, but again, if you're going to win this thing, you have to be the very best out there, and we'll see where things go for this squad a little later on. I know Agave Garfo, I know their next game coming up here, I believe, is actually going to be up against that Element Heaven team this coming Friday. Element Heaven, who I kind of need to break up their own, quite frankly. We'll see how that goes from there, but for Agave Garfo, it could be a good bouncing point to where they still have a couple of other really big teams to go up against where they need that momentum going into those games.
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, they need that momentum. They need a little bit of chaos as well. And Hunter, I've always talked about this region brings us that week in and week out. You never know who it's going to be, and the Agave Garfo team might just end up being that team.
Yeah, might just be. We'll have to see a little later down the line, though, as obviously no more South America here for today. We have one more game later on, a North American game between Wink and Elemental Normal. That should be a very fun one going on here. There's some action going on Friday as well with Agave, Faka, and Ragnarok. I, unfortunately, will not be there for it, but Dexatron's covering on his own Twitch, so when we head over to the transition screen, y'all can definitely just see the link right there. Go follow him, stay up to date with that right there, obviously, because that should be a pretty fun game right there. But Dex, we're going to get things going for this other game here in a little while. It is going to be about an hour until we really get set for that game, though. So if y'all come around for that one, obviously, we're happy to have you. If not, please enjoy your night. Come back next time for some more South American action. Take care, y'all.